Andrew, explain the timing of this, of Brady signing this deal.
Well, they're signing him with the idea that he's one day going to retire. When that is, we don't know. Obviously, Brady has been something that we kind of haven't seen in the NFL before. He's going to be 45 to start next season. And so this is for when he retires. That's when the deal will kick in. In terms of the timing of the deal, when he first announced he'd retired, the Fox did reach out to him, and his agent did express that Tom had some interest. And then, I had that on my radar, but then when he went back to play, it kind of went off the radar. And then yesterday, that's why we got the surprise announcement.
Okay, did Brady approach Fox or vice versa?
It's one of those things, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning are kind of in their own class when you talk about people wanting them on TV. So I just think it's kind of an assumption that Fox would want to talk to Tom Brady, right? Like if Tom Brady comes out, everybody's going to want to talk to him. He's considered the greatest quarterback of all time. He has the personality. He kind of fits everything to a T. So, who made the first call? I'd imagine it was probably Fox. And then, Brady said, yeah, I got a little interest.
And the mothership jumped in. They did Brady leverage this or his agent to say, I'm open for business here?
Yeah. So, the one other place I do know that, had talks with Brady was ESPN. But, they already have their full share of quarterbacks to call games. And, they have Joe Buck now and Troy Aikman every week on Monday night starting this season. And then the Manning cast last year with Peyton. So I think if he had done ESPN, it would be more of like an ESPN play streaming, doing production stuff. And then maybe some pregame shows would have maybe been a possibility. But, the games is really where the big money is located. Although, I think ESPN, Disney would have, the idea is to be in business with Tom Brady for a long time. And I think they were interested, not at the level, the $375 million level that Fox went to.
See, I thought that this is where Amazon would jump in because they got the deepest pockets. And if you want to make a splash, you can make a splash with Tom Brady. Not that Kirk Herbstreit is not going to be a complimentary partner with Al Michaels. Throw Tom Brady in the mix, you're going to get people's attention.
Well, if he had stayed retired, Dan, it's interesting you said that. I haven't mentioned this in any articles, but if he had stayed retired, you got to think that Amazon might have gone even higher, right? Like what would Amazon have paid to team Brady with Al Michaels and to really make that super splash? And then, there's other things that come along with Tom Brady, right? He has all these companies. And so there are big deals to be made. And I think when you look at even the Fox deal, we don't know how it's all broken down exactly. We just know the number. And so, yes, it's for analyzing games. They talked about the brand ambassador. There's some ideas I have that I don't know fully, so I don't want to speculate on terms of things he might do. But it's more encompassing. So yeah, Amazon did make a lot of sense. The problem with Amazon, I even thought about it after, is that you can't really hire him like Fox is, right? Fox is hiring him to call games eventually. Amazon starts its first year next year, and yeah, you could hire somebody else, but it's like Al Michaels and just somebody else who's holding the place for Tom Brady. I don't know. I don't think that can really work.
I think Fox is going to get a bargain out of this.
It's funny you say that. I think when you look at the history, almost in sports, I'm going to take it off the media. Like, look what the Mets are doing, right? With Steve Cohen. He's investing. When Steinbrenner came into the Yankees, he investing. When you are betting on good products like the NFL, I'm not saying you can't. There's no money that you could spend that'd be too much. But when you think about it, who knows if Tom Brady will fulfill this full 10-year contract, right? He's got a lot of interest, maybe ownership. There's a lot of things that could happen over 10 years. But let's just say you have a relationship with Tom Brady for 10 years, the greatest of all time. And let's say he's okay as a broadcaster. He's doing other things. The way the business is going, you might be right. Like, this might be just a really good deal, especially if he's into it. And we know Brady enough to think that he's not going to do something where he's not going to be all in, kind of like Peyton, with with what he's doing with Omaha Productions, Peyton's all in. Like, he's working on that. He's not just a figurehead. And I think Brady's similar, of course. And I think he'll work at this. Now, will he be good? That's another question. I think he has potential.
Well, I was going to ask you that. It's one of those obvious questions. Like, is Brady going to be any good as an analyst?
I mean, these things, it's impossible to totally predict. I think personally, I would say I bet more that he will be good. I think when you look at what, if you have the right partner, and you've hit on this a number of times, like, and you know this from your experience, it's the play-by-play guy that really makes the analyst. Not that there are analysts who will be good despite a play-by-play guy, but there's the analyst. I mean, the play-by-play guy is really, so having Kevin Burkhardt, who is an all-around great guy, like everyone loves Kevin Burkhardt, it's going to, I think, help him. He's going to he's a good teammate. He's going to try to make Tom Brady successful. And I think that's really important for Brady. But at the end of the day, like, people always get into, will he criticize, right? And it's always a misnomer, right? He doesn't have to go on the air and just kill people to be good. That's not what it is. And it's telling us things we don't know, things we don't see. And when you watch the Manning cast, to me, like, what really separates is Peyton's mind is this working at a higher level, right? He's arguably, along with Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time. And just the things that he points out, you don't hear that in regular broadcasts. And obviously the form is easier to do that. But you imagine Brady, especially when he's just going to be right off the field, is going to see things in defenses, point out little things that the average person, the average quarterback doesn't see. And that's where I think he could kind of separate himself and be really good on the air. And the idea that you come on with Tom Brady does give it a little bit more prominence. Now, what's that worth overall? That we could argue all day about that, but it does give it a bigger feel if you have Tom Brady involved in your broadcast.
I mentioned this the first hour that I would have the Tom cam, and I would have the camera behind the quarterback, and Tom is the quarterback. He's the camera, and he's saying, okay, this is over here. This is over here. I got the safety is over here. I'm going to check down on this play. Then you let, the play-by-play guy call the play, and then you could have it reversed where Tom looks at it from the defensive side of things if you wanted to and say, as the strong safety or the linebacker, this is what I see here or I saw here. And you could almost let him be the quarterback while he's doing his job as the analyst. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea. The thing you will see more of, I guarantee you, is more two shots where they come back from commercial and they come to the booth and you see Tom Brady. I mean, if you have Tom Brady, you want to see him, because that's the thing about doing games as compared to studio. You do not see the guys calling the game. So what you say and your voice is much more important than how you look. On studio, you're on camera basically the whole time. And if you have a presence, that's really something that, like someone like Drew Brees, for example, on NBC's show, like, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but he's not a big guy. Like, there's no presence to him when he's on in studio. And so with Brady, I think you'll see him a lot on camera. They'll try to utilize that. They want you to know that Tom Brady's doing the game, but not hit you over the head with it. And then ultimately it's going to be what he says and, how he says it. And if he's into it, it's going to be fascinating.